I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Well, this Monday we are going to diverge a little bit from that precision rifle stuff, and we're going to talk about some handgun things. Specifically, we're going to talk about the grip and rail system from Recover Tactical, and also talk about their holster for this system. Now, the Recover Tactical Grip and Rail System is a really neat product that allows you to add a light rail to a standard dust cover equipped 1911. So if you've got an old 1911 A1 laying around somewhere and you would like to be able to add a tack light to it, maybe turn it into a home defense gun, then this may be a good product for you. It's got some great benefits. It also has a couple of drawbacks, so let's get into it. The first obvious benefit to this is that I can take a weapon light, a standard weapon light like my Surefire X300 Ultra here, and now I can snap it on to a standard dust cover equipped 1911. And now I really can turn this older 1911 into the same type of utility that I have with a modern 1911 with a railed dust cover like these SIG Tac Ops here. So this is a great benefit for those of you out there that maybe have an old 1911 that has some kind of sentimental value that you do not want to get rid of. You don't want to sell and upgrade to a newer 1911, but you would still like to actually be able to use the handgun, and you want to be able to add a weapon light to it. So in that aspect, this system really works great. But there are a couple of drawbacks to it. The first drawback to it is I don't know that you would want to do this on an heirloom 1911 that has a really good finish to it. One of my concerns when looking at this grip system is it does envelop the standard 1911 frame. If you use this in any kind of harsh environments, if you're out in the dirt, out in the sand, then stuff can work its way in through the various seams and various openings in the system and embed itself between the grip panels or the rail system up here and the frame of the handgun. And over time and recoil and movement, you may have that grit wear down the finish of the handgun underneath. So keep that in mind. Now, we're using this on my old Colt Combat Commander. This gun has been around quite a bit. It's got a good deal of holster wear already on it, so it is not a concern for me. It's already got all kinds of nastiness that's been scrubbed off from body oils, a little bit of surface rust, all that comes from a year-round carry gun. So putting the grip panels on, I wasn't real worried about any marring. Now that brings us to another thing I'll point out. Obviously, this is a commander length gun. This is a full-size government length gun, so we've got a little bit shorter slide on it, a little bit shorter dust cover on the commander gun. There is only one version of the Recover Tactical Grip and Rail system though, so as you can see, the end of the dust cover does not match up with the cut in the slide. This really isn't a problem because when you put a tack light on here, you really need that extended dust cover to make sure you engage all the lugs and all the rail space on the tack light. So no problem at all. This also brings out a little bit of a benefit when you use a handgun like this in a combative situation. When your tack light extends out to the front of your grip frame, the tack light ends up being a standoff. So in an extreme close quarters situation, if you have to drive the handgun into the target, then that light acts as a standoff and it does not allow your slide to be pushed back out of battery. So that actually is kind of a nice feature. Obviously when you do this on a standard 1911, you don't get that feature, and you actually can push your slide back out of battery if you drive it into a target. Now, moving on, we tried the rail system with a variety of different lights. Obviously the Surefire X300 Ultra snaps right on here. No problem at all, comes off nice and easy. We have an old Insight M3, which again snaps on great, locks on tight, comes off just fine. Shouldn't have any problems with the Enforce or any of the side clamping style lights. Those should go on just fine. It's usually the slide-on lights that we have the most trouble with some of the rail systems that are out there. So as far as its job of actually holding a tactical light on the handgun, it's worked perfectly. We didn't have any problems with the lights falling off, didn't have any problems with them moving under recoil, and it holds it fairly tight. We don't get a lot of rattling around or any of that nonsense from the standard tack lights that are out there. I'm sure there are some oddball Chinese lights that you may have some problems with fitting, but if you go with a good high quality weapon light, it should fit on here just fine. Now let's talk about a couple of the drawbacks in actually using this handgun. The first thing is the grip system adds a bit of bulk to the grip. In addition to having a little bit more meat on the sides than you would find with a regular set of grip scales on a 1911, it wraps around the front. And where it wraps around the front, it adds a little bit of forward to back thickness as well. With my hands, it actually feels really good. The little bit of size increase on it brings this a little bit closer to the grip size on the Glocks or the Glock 21 SF that I carry on a daily basis. So the larger grip fits my hand just fine. But if you have a smaller hand, then you may want to take that into account. Grabbing a standard 1911, you can definitely feel immediately the difference in grip size between the two. It also it's a little flatter feeling across the front than a standard 1911. The standard 1911, you have that nice round front strap, and you have a flatter feeling front strap with the Recover Tactical grip and rail system. And the last thing that we ran into that's a little bit of a negative on this is the actual surface on the grip. The surface on the grip is a little bit too slick for my liking. You have these little ridges in here and ridges on the front that's supposed to help lock your hand in, but it's really not enough. Even just the little bit of moisture that's on my hand right now allows my hand to squirm around on the grip. You've got two real quick solutions to that. You can either stipple the grip. I've already seen some stippled ones out there on the internet. Or you can buy a stick-on grip from Talon Grips. They already make one that is cut out for the Recover Tactical grip and rail system. It's rather attractive cutout. It allows the little ridges to come through in certain places. And I am a big fan of Talon grips, especially on guns that you can't modify or that you're not allowed to stipple. My Duty Glock has a Talon grip on it, and it really helps me lock my hand in, even when we're in the nasty, humid summers where you almost always have sweat on your body. I can grab that handgun and the grip really allows me to lock in a nice tight grip on it. So those are the few drawbacks that we found with the grip and rail system itself. Now the bigger drawback for those of you guys that might actually want to carry something like this is that when we attach a tack light to it, the distance top to bottom from the tack light is a lot greater than a standard 1911 with a rail dust cover. And what this means is this will not fit in any of the standard 1911 tack light holsters out there. It really limits your options on holsters. So to help with that, Recover Tactical came out with their HC11 holster. Now, first of all, I want to point something out really quickly. This is the Recover Tactical CC3H grip and rail kit. You got to look for that H on the back of it. If you find one out there on eBay that's just the CC3, it probably will not work with their holster systems. The difference being they have this little notch cut in the front here that works with the locking system in the holster. Now these holsters, the HC11 can be bought in one of two flavors. Either you can get it with passive retention or you can get it with active retention. This is the active retention version, and the lock works kind of like a Serpa lock as far as engaging and disengaging. You have this paddle on the outside, and when you draw the handgun, your trigger finger engages the paddle as you withdraw the handgun. So once you get the grip and rail system installed, it's a simple matter to lock the handgun in, and it holds it fairly securely. Didn't have to worry about the handgun falling out at all. We did some draw practice from concealment, and it works fairly well. It does have a couple of limitations. The biggest limitation we found was quickly reholstering the handgun. You have to be very careful how you get it in there. You have to line the muzzle up correctly, and then you have to push down fairly abruptly to get the tactical light to pass the little fingers that cover your trigger. It is kind of novel how they set this holster up. Because it leaves the tack light exposed, so of course you can either holster it with or without a tack light. But in order to do that and keep the trigger covered, they had to make the trigger guard with these little rubber wings. So the trigger guard actually can flex to allow the tack light to pass, and then it snaps back into place to cover your trigger. This works really well as far as protecting the trigger and allowing pretty much whatever tack light you can stick on the gun to work with the holster system. As I said, the drawback is getting the tack light past these little wings sometimes takes a good deal of force. The other drawback that we encountered is if you run a tack light like the Surefire, and on the Surefire pushing forward on the buttons illuminates the tack light. Well, when you have it holstered and you go to withdraw it, as soon as you pull back, the wings will tap the back of the tack light. And of course, now that I'm trying to demonstrate it to you, it won't do it. There it goes. So you do have a negligent discharge or an unintentional discharge of your light from time to time. This is not exactly a good thing if you're trying not to give away your position. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if we switch over to something like the Insight or Stream lights, which you have to actually press down or press up on the paddles, that is not a problem. The trigger guard doesn't actually flip the paddles up or down. It just pushes forward on them when you withdraw the pistol. And so you shouldn't have any issues there. But then again, you just saw when I withdrew it, I wiggled the handgun just a little bit, and again, it popped the light. So something to bear in mind with this, anything that you have the toggle buttons on the back, you may have some issues with an unintentional utilization of your light when you draw it from the holster. Overall, the Recover Tactical grip and rail system I think is a good option if you have a 1911 that you are attached to, that you don't want to get rid of, but you want to add a tack light to it. You're looking at $50 for the grip and rail system. You're looking at $60 for the active retention holster. It's a little bit less for the passive retention version. My recommendation, though, would be if you want to go with this type of system, then I would suggest you go ahead, get it mounted up, decide which light you want, and then I would take this whole deal to a custom Kydex holster manufacturer and have a Kydex holster made for your setup. I think that would solve a lot of the problems that we have with the holster. I'm torn on the holster because the way they solved the problems was really interesting. The little flexible wings for the trigger guard I think shows a whole lot of thought, but I think it just kind of misses in the use situation because when I'm actually using it out on the range, I have to really think. And the last thing that you really want to do if you get into a situation where you've drawn your handgun and now you have to go hands-on because you don't always get to shoot, having to fumble to get the thing back in the holster is not a good thing. I want to be able to just, if it's time that I don't need my gun anymore and I need these hands free, I just want to be able to slide it in the holster and be done. I really don't want to have to fumble around here and make sure that it's locked in before I go. Also, we did not test this to destruction, but because the entire bottom of the holster is open, I don't know that I really trust this in a gun grab situation. I think if somebody grabbed the gun, I mean, I'm feeling enough flex without really trying to break the holster. I think if somebody grabbed the gun and ripped down, it's going to come out of the holster. So you want to keep that in mind. Again, overall, the grip system, I think, is a big win. If you need this kind of setup for a house gun, for something that's going to be on the nightstand, something that you don't think you actually need a holster for, I think it's perfect. I think it's good to go as is. Go ahead and grab one and put it on your house gun. If it's something that you want to carry, go with a custom Kydex holster from your favorite manufacturer, and that way you have a good quality holster to carry the setup in. That is about it for the Recover Tactical grip and rail system and the Recover Tactical HC11 holster. If you want some more information on either the holster or the grip system, make sure you check out our post on our website, and I will put the link to that down below. If you have any questions over any of this stuff, please feel free to put them in the comment section down below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you've got a question that you would like to have answered on Mail Call Mondays, please leave it in the comments section below and we will take a look at it. If we like your question, we may select it for the next Mail Call Mondays. And until next time, get out and shoot!